Holy freaking crickets here in Glendale. He's alive too, I think. Yeah. No. Does it bring good luck? Is that a thing? Today I'm doing a old style, kind of archaic, not really in use. I haven't seen it anywhere, called the Lichtenhainer. I could be saying that wrong. But it's a smoked sour beer from Germany. It's kind of like a smoked Goza, maybe a smoked Berliner Weiss. I'm smoking on the on my grill, like I did for the Rauchbier, which you can see here. I'm going to try and use less charcoal this time, and because it got a little hot. I think the temperature of the grain got closer to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's a little uncomfortable. I'm going to try and turn this into somewhat of a mezcal drink. I'm going to add some oak cubes soaked in tequila for a couple weeks into the finished beer and see if it kind of imparts some of that tequila flavor with the smoke, with the sourness. It could totally clash and be horrible, but that's why I do 1 gallon batches. Here's the grain bill, 0 hops. I am using 1 ounce of this. Let me adjust this here. I'm using an ounce of acid malt to sour with, and I'm using WLP 644 as my yeast. Here's the estimated stuff here. Here's my pre-boil I'm going for. And 1 gallon of water, 160 for a C temp of 154 Fahrenheit. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of batch barge. I'm going to sour this beer in a kettle. You can do a kettle sour, and you basically purge the top of CO2 or bubble CO2 in it. Cover the top with like saran wrap, or you can like tape down the top of the kettle and really eliminate oxygen from getting in, and put that near the heater and wrap it in blankets. I hope that works. I don't know if it's going to. Trying to use less charcoal this time. Last time I used way too much and got a little hot. I may have underdone it this time. There's a little smoke coming out of there. Just a little bit. An ideal way to do this would be to put the grains over the coals, but I don't have that set up. And obviously a cold smoker would be the best. See, this is what I'm trying to achieve here. I'm trying to keep it around 100. Unfortunately, the amount of smoke is not cutting it. This just isn't working. I have to add more freaking coals. So you get to being a good brewer, trying to keep the temp low. Am I the only one that ever feels like the brew day never goes according to plan? Although this is kind of cool though. I just got this. Finally, a 5-gallon mash tun. There's the 10-gallon. There's the 5-gallon one. I'm trying to figure out how much dead space to calculate for. I did 0.15 gallons. That's about what it looks like for this little guy. Trial by fire. Nope. There's 1.8 ounces of acid malt in this. For my batch, that's 6.5%. freaking believe this. It looks like it is off by a little bit. I think it's high. That's more like it. I did not add lactic acid to this. This is just naturally what happened after I recalibrated this. But I'm gonna need this for the next step. It's been an hour. I'm gonna see what temperature this is at. Boink. It's definitely better than the 10-gallon mash tun. It only dropped 6 degrees or so. And of course, if I do a 2-gallon batch, this will hold really well for that. So I'm happy. 1031. So that's pretty good. That's right where I want to be. I think it's fine as is because my post boil is supposed to be 1037 in that range because I'm going to do like a really quick boil after it sours. So right now I'm going to take a pH reading and then acidify it to get to 4.5 pH. Well, that's the pH somehow. Even though it was at 5.4 last time, it was 5.25. It rose somehow. It should have lowered. Maybe I missed something. Maybe it raises in the mash. I thought it lowered. I thought that when the enzymes converted the starches into sugars, I really thought that it lowered the pH a little bit. I tested it against the 7 pH again, and it was accurate, so I don't know. But I'm going to add some lactic acid to this. I'm going to start with 3 or 4 drops. Take a pH reading, 3 or 4 drops, take a pH reading, until I get it to my 4.5 range I'm going for. Getting the pH down to 4.5 actually inhibits like wild growth because wild bacteria and the bad stuff that you don't want in sour beer can't grow in low pH. That includes like any potential really bad stuff like E. coli, but that's really improbable to get in the beer, but I guess it's a possibility. Having a low pH can help with any of that like isovaleric acid, which is like a stinky feed or cheesy smell that can happen sometimes when you do these quick sours. So getting a pH to 4.5 first eliminates that. All I want it to get is like that lactic tartness. When I read on Milk the Funk site, it said that 1 milliliter of lactic acid drops the pH by 0.1. Now, you probably can't see it. So that very bottom line is 15 milliliters. So yeah, it's close to it. It probably took about 12 milliliters or so to get down there. So it's a pretty good rule of thumb. So I'm going to purge the top of this all with CO2. I'm going to try and wrap it with either saran wrap, maybe put the lid on and then wrap it with saran wrap, and that should be fine. I'm very tempted to bubble CO2 into this, and I might just do that. And then purge the top with CO2, put the lid on, saran wrap it, put it on top of the heater, cover it with a blanket, and hopefully it stays hot for a couple days. Alright, now I'm just running CO2 on top of it after bubbling in it for about a minute. This is done. This is all purged with CO2. I'm going to tape the edges of this pretty good with duct tape. Get a good seal in there. I'm going to put it by the heater inside, like I said, and I hope to keep it around 100 for 1 to 3 days, however long it takes to sour. And after it sours, I'm going to boil it for about 15 minutes, pitch the 644 here, and then probably I won't make a starter out of this. I'll just pitch it in, and hopefully everything works out. Here's the kettle. I'm using a meat thermometer, so it's not the best and most accurate, but this is the heat coming out of my little floor heater here. I turn it on for about 2 minutes and turn it off, and then there's a lot of just ambient heat coming out of it. I think this should work as far as heating the kettle goes. What it's sitting on is here. So the heat coming out of down here is a little bit lower, but it's pretty warm. So it should be okay. I hope it's hot enough. It shows it here as 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's been sitting out here for about a minute or two. So that's actually pretty good. So it probably was close to 100 then for the last 2 days. This was sanitized, by the way. It has some tartness to it, but it doesn't have like a rip your mouth off tartness. I'm gonna take a little bit more and actually do a pH reading on it just to see if I'm being crazy or not. So it has dropped a little bit from 4.5 to 3.95. So yeah, this definitely needs to go for another day or two. Put it back on the heater and try again tomorrow. I'm refilling the inside of this with CO2 again just to make sure no oxygen got in. At this stage it might be a bit overkill, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Looks like mold. That's not ideal. 96 on the button. That's about where I want to be. Not bad. The pH is dropping, but it's not there yet. So I'll go another day and try again tomorrow. That was a total of 4 days. Ideally, we would like to do in like 1 to 2 or 3 days, but I don't think I got it to 100 that often. So the 95 degrees that it was at probably just added a little bit slower of a time. But I got it to a pH of 3.2. I was going for 3.4, so that's pretty good. It's gonna be pretty tart. Got the results I wanted, I guess, out of the lactobacillus. Well, that's obviously not ideal. Looks like mold to me. Tastes fine. Doesn't taste moldy, doesn't have any stinky feet or anything going on, or any vomit flavor or smell. So I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna boil it right now. I'm gonna scrape off all the stuff off the top of that, and hopefully it works out. I'm gonna boil this for 15 minutes. I'm gonna add 0 hops and cool it down, and then I'm gonna pitch the WLP 644 strain into it. This just came to a boil. I'm actually going to add a pinch of yeast nutrient. I don't know what kind of nutrients got depleted during my souring phase. Plus, yeast has a hard time eating with a low pH. All the more reason to add some nutrient for your sap yeast or your Brett yeast to eat for the actual alcohol fermentation phase. I'm going to take a gravity reading. I pulled a sample off before the boil. Some strains of lactobacillus will just drop the pH. Some strains will actually create CO2 and alcohol. I believe lactobacillus heterofermentative strains are the ones that create some CO2 and alcohol, whereas the homofermentative strains are the ones that create just lactic acid. Yet when you're dealing with like using grains to sour with and yogurt and weird stuff like that, you don't really want the CO2 and alcohol to be produced. Ideally, every time you do these things, you really want just that clean, tart lactic acid. If CO2 and alcohol are produced, that can be a sign where something else got in, unless you're using certain commercial strains. Which, like I said, some commercial strains are homofermentative and some are heterofermentative. Okay, so it did drop a little. It's at 10:29. This is pre-boil. I started at 10:31. Yeah, I think that if I were to have actual alcohol using a refractometer, I think the numbers would be way wackier. I don't think that anything really honestly happened. I think my initial 10:31 gravity reading might have been off by 2 gravity points. Maybe, you know, it just changed a fraction or I got a different reading. It was such a minor difference. I'm going to go with my starting gravity was at 10:29 instead of 10:31. Because why not? All right, 10:34. I was going for about 10:37, so I'm a little under. It's not the end of the world. I think for the style, you know, really low alcohol is fine. I must have just got a different reading on my pre-boil, like I said. So it's okay, it's a little lower than I intended. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it so far, and I got my pH where I wanted it, and it tastes hard, and it's smoky, and so far so good. The nice thing about doing these quick sours is that after you boil it, after it's soured, I don't need to use any of my other like funky equipment. I can just use all my clean equipment. The next time you see this beer, it probably will be in a bottle and I'll be doing a tasting notes on it. Like I said, I'm gonna try and turn it into some sort of mezcal beer. I don't know if I'm gonna do all of it that way. I would like to try and just bottle a couple bottles without it, just to kind of compare. So until tasting notes and until next time, happy brewing.